should a real estate investor get their real estate license?
We do lease options. We do owner carry. We do private lending. There's a lot of different ways to make money in this business. To be a successful real estate investor, you do not have to have a license.
If you think wealth is about luxury cars, designer jewelry, or exotic vacations, you're in the wrong place. We're not concerned about your net worth, your 401k, or how much debt you have. Our approach is much different because real wealth isn't only about money. It's about freedom. Freedom to work because you want to, not because you have to. Freedom to pursue your purpose, live on passive income, and build a legacy. That freedom starts now. Welcome to the Real Wealth Formula with Brad Hovis, where each episode breaks down the principles, mindset, and practical steps to help you experience financial freedom today. Real talk, real numbers, real freedom. This is the Real Wealth Formula.
This episode is brought to you by Rebiz.com. You've probably seen the same old stuff in your feed. Invest in a franchise, start an ATM route, buy a car wash, launch a vending machine side hustle. Cool ideas, but here's what they don't tell you. The good ones are way too expensive, and the cheap ones barely cash flow. But there's a business model that's quietly producing big paydays as well as monthly income for people working from home, a coffee shop, or even out of their pickup truck. Visit Rebiz.com, that's REIBIZ.com, to see how it all works. What's up, moguls? This is the Real Wealth Formula. I'm here with Brian McClain, and we have a question. Should a real estate investor get their real estate license?
That's a great question, Brad. And first and foremost, hey, thanks again for having me back. I guess the first one went well enough that, or you ran out of gas. And you know this, like
a little bit of both, frankly.
I've actually had my real estate license since 2017. I got mine because we were acquiring a lot of properties and we were actually selling quite a few from fix and flip perspective. Even some of our buy and holds we were selling and exchanging into other properties. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, at the time, I was tired of working with realtors. And they do. Like, some realtors have a lower approval rating than Congress. That's the negative side. But the ones that do know what they're doing and are really good at what they do are actually a really valuable asset. First and foremost, to be a successful real estate investor, you do not have to have a license. And we talk about these things. There are different things that you and I do to make income and make money beyond just our buy and hold real estate. And especially when you start off, because you're small margins, low cash flow, and it snowballs on itself. So for me, what I needed to do when I was in that world is I needed a side hustle and a job to do. And it was definitely very complementary to my investment and my business. And it's something that I've actually very much enjoyed and I very
so
much
you kind of look at that license, because I don't have a license and I'll never get one. And the reason I won't get it is because of the creative finance side. We'll talk about that in a second. But you looked at that as just a bolt on to your existing, because your career went corporate America, real estate investing to escape the rat race. And then you decided to go and get your license. You looked at that as a bolt-on to your real estate business?
And I looked at that as a tool in my toolbox to help me do deals.
Okay.
And so not everything I do, we do lease options. We do owner carry. We do private lending. There's a lot of different ways to make money in this business. Having a license is another way to do that, but it's also an above board way to act as a fiduciary and help other people invest in real estate more in a traditional model. And so I took all the principles, all the things that I learned as an investor, and I plugged that into my realtor business. So it's not as traditional as just, hey, Brad, you want to go buy a house for your family? Okay. You find the house, I'll write a contract and I'll do it for you.
So that's not the approach you're taking. You're not doing your realtor business that way.
I look at that as, for me, I'm a real estate consultant. The hundreds of deals that I've done, all the things that I've done wrong, all the things that I've done right, all the experience, I use that when it comes to helping other people buy and sell real estate. And so you look at that as exactly that. You, a traditional realtor, you would send me a property on Zillow and go, hey, Brian, I need somebody to open up the door and then write a contract for me. Hey, can you do that? And you can make 15 grand in the process. People look at that because it's a low barrier of entry to actually get your license. It's like a get rich quick. When I was growing up, my father, just like he had an attorney an accountant. He had a local realtor that he knew and trusted that would help him with those types of things. I look at my license as more as a consultant. And so you see some of these realtors are very much transactional. And I look at that example of you might deal with a realtor that's never bought or sold real estate himself.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If you don't have skin in the game or know how the game works, you really can't act in their best interest or their fiduciary. I also see this on the negative side. There's a lot of realtors out there that if they don't sell you a piece of property this month, they might not be able to pay for their property. And so that is like the negative aspect of the business. But the positive aspect of the business is we talk about the buy side of things. I always talk about fishing in an ocean instead of a small pond. The MLS is a pond. It's a great tool. It shows you what's active, what's sold, what's under contract right now. It helps you understand. When I'm working with buyers, I'm trying to still find that off-market old lady that has very well-maintained home, but is willing to make a deal with you and do a transaction that works out for both parties. So we do some of the same mailers for our clients as we do when you and I work as investors. We're working on pre-foreclosures. We're working on distressed property, that vacant house.
And with that marketing, you're trying to get the listings, is that right? Or are you trying to come in as a buyer?
We talked about our last podcast about that buy box.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I teach people on the buy side. Find out what you want. And we can look on the MLS and look at properties and really define. For you and I, we talk about that brick ranch all the time. You know, that's like, and I know you and I own a lot of those.
Yeah.
For somebody's personal property, and I always look at your personal residence as your most important real estate investment because that's when you get Christmas memories in. That's how property you get to live in. So some people might go, I absolutely need a walkout basement. Privacy is important to me. I need to be in these school districts. My job is to help them identify that inventory. And you know, between AI, between list building, the things that we do as investors, it's very easy to cross that over as a realtor. And that's where the business has changed. So on the buy side, what we're doing, because there's a very small subset of inventory, even in a market like we're in right now, what we're doing is trying to expand what we can find. I would say probably about 50% of my deals are off-market deals. And a great example, I had this elderly couple. They're moving in from their 2-story house to a ranch. She wants this property in this one community that backs to open space. There's only 8 of them in that area. What we do is we put together a very nice mailer to all 8 of those. I literally get a call the day the mailer drops. Oh my gosh, me and my wife just got job transferred. We're moving to Oregon. We'd love to meet this couple and we'd love to make a deal happen. And so that is the example on the buy side of making sure you're expanding the inventory, getting more off-market stuff involved.
So wait a second. I want to cut you off real quick just so I can ask some really specific questions about your Realtor business. It seems like you're doing direct marketing, right?
Absolutely.
And you're doing it from a, hey, could I buy this perspective? And then if you can't buy it, then you'll list it. Is that the idea? Or
and that's exactly, and we talk about, you get this, we talked about last one about the neighbor next door buying their house too. When you're active in the market and you're doing deals come to you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, if we can't find the right solution for that client, like maybe this doesn't work or that doesn't work, then we help them in the next thing. And that transitions into the sell side. I approach a sale. Remember when we were doing fix and flips? I remember it was 11 o'clock at night. You and I are painting a door, getting everything perfect.
You were painting a door. I was in the car. Just kidding. I don't know how to paint.
But that's exactly, it's like we're making sure everything is perfect. We're doing as much marketing around it. We're making sure this property looks pristine because you never have a second chance to make a first impression. So on the buy side, what we're doing is starting off by just trying to get as much inventory as possible. On the sell side, what we're trying to do is drive as much traffic. We did the exact same thing with rentals. I want people tripping over themselves to get into our door and to look at a property so we can generate as much demand, bid the product up, or get the best offer possible. So typical realtor is going to be, hey, I'll put a sign in the yard, I'll put it on the MLS, and eventually it will sell and you can give me a check. My mentality is, what are the small things that we can do to make your property look as good as possible? Some of it's just like hiring a professional cleaner. Some of it is our online marketing is so key right now. We do a lot of stuff with that Zillow showcase. We do a lot of stuff. I know you use my friends over at Cinefly. I don't even want to use their name on this podcast.
It'll be too busy.
Yeah, I don't want them to be like, no, we're doing a shoot for Brad right now instead of you.
I'll put it this way. They came through, of course they did the pictures, but they did this drone video. Went through the entire house, upstairs, downstairs, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, through the door, out the back door, all that kind of stuff. One of the best videos I've ever seen in my life. Made me not want to sell the house. For crying out loud. So then going back, is your license, do you look at your license as a side hustle for yourself? Or is this like your main hustle? Or help me understand.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, my business is in 3 pieces of a pie.
Okay.
I have a separate business. If we have time, we'll talk a little bit about that hustle. But what happened to me is during the pandemic, my Realtor business went through the roof. And it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of doing good business. And we also, my brokerage has a relationship with Zillow, which is phenomenal. So if you click a Zillow, I want to see this house. And when we talk about looking at houses, people look at your house 8 to 10 times before they even go look at it in person, right? We're a digital world. And so we want to make that online presence look as great as possible before we even list or do anything else to the property. I've had years where my investment have made me more money than my realtor business. I've had years with my realtor business has made me more money than my investments. But I'm in the position where I have the freedom to take on the clients I want, work with the people I want, and it's a good matching energy. And so you see these people. Sometimes people have a bad experience with a realtor because a realtor doesn't know what they're doing. Sometimes people have a bad experience with a realtor because the people don't know what they're doing. And that comes with real estate education and looking at each situation uniquely and saying, what are you trying to accomplish, Brad? And maybe let me see what I can do. And sometimes I might have to tell you, hey, you're in a 3.5% rate. The inventory that we're looking at is going to cost you 2x, and it's going to be very similar. Where saying, hey, you might have to wait 5 more years to get that walkout basement, to get that open space view. And so when I talk about real estate, my job is actually educate you and teach you how to make the best decisions possible. Sometimes that's staying in the home you're in.
Are you concerned, you mentioned fiduciary responsibility, are you concerned at all about sellers particularly misinterpreting your intention when you're marketing to them and putting properties under contract, when you're playing the investor role versus when you're playing the realtor role? How do you navigate that? One of the major reasons why I won't get a license is because I want to represent myself. And when I come in there and I'm going to make 50 grand, 100 grand on a deal, I want to make it with no strings attached. So are you concerned with your license and your realtor hat conflicting?
And that's a great question because everything you do is ethical and above board.
Right.
And we have to do very similar things. And here's a great example of that. Now that I'm big enough and established enough, I might do a referral thing where if I'm selling one of my investment properties in Metro Denver, I might have another agent, if I'm putting on the MLS, have another agent represent me. And so that's exactly that aspect of it. Same thing with my investments. My investment stuff, because I do quite a bit of stuff in St. Louis like you do. My investment stuff now is totally separate than my realtor business. And so when I'm doing mailers and doing stuff, I'm not looking at properties, and it's different markets. I'm not looking at properties that are going to be a good fix and flip or a good deal. Now, if I cross paths and you've had these conversations with me, hey, Brad, this sounds like something that would be of interest to you as a buy and hold, or this might be an interest to you as a fix and flip. And so I work with clientele in that realm, but I don't cross paths between one business and the other.
So that's one way to navigate that.
Yeah. And I think it's really important, and I think we've talked about this a little bit. You do not need a license to buy and sell real estate for yourself. Now, you also, just because somebody has a license, it doesn't mean they're more knowledgeable than you. It doesn't mean they're actually acting as your fiduciary. I've seen deals where, and I always talk about, you've done this with me too, the 3-strike rule. Hey, this is messed up. It backs up to a main street. It's got all these structural issues. So when I work with clients, I am actually buying the same way that I buy for myself, and I stick to the same rules and the same principles. At the end of the day, they're making the decision. but I'm giving them guidance. And I've had clients and deals that I've walked away from and said, no, you don't want this property. And they're like, why? And I'm just telling you from experience. And you get this, like, we've dealt with a lot of foundation issues out here. Foundation stuff doesn't go away. You know, when you're on the wrong bet night and you're in the wrong neighborhood, you can fix that issue, but it's going to come back eventually, or you're going to deal with this, you're going to deal with that. So what I do when it comes to buying and selling is I'm acting in the same way as I'm acquiring a property as a buyer's agent. And then when I'm listing a property, I'm actually marketing and doing it the same way I'm doing as a fix and flipper. And we've dealt with this.
But it is a concern for you.
It absolutely
that your
is.
license now attached to you is a concern for you.
Yeah. And this is something, doing good business. I will do lease options all day long.
You really?
I will not touch subject to properties.
That's what I thought.
As a realtor. So
Gotcha.
if your business is doing subject to properties, don't get your license.
Yeah.
If you're a boring buy and hold guy like me, absolutely. But it's also, I think, it's just one of your license is another hat that you wear. I might talk. I was literally showing a property to somebody yesterday, and she goes, "Do you know what rent to own means?" I'm glad you asked. Do I ever? And then it's going back and talking about the financials. And
So I do want to hit on the sub 2 lease option. So you kind of draw the line at sub 2. Installment land contracts, contract for deeds, you're kind of avoiding those as well, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also telling people, understanding what they are and the pros and cons from you and I, people who have actually done those types of deals.
Yeah. A hefty portion of our portfolio at one time was these were houses that we acquired subject to the existing financing. We also bought, you remember, I'm trying to get him on the podcast. He's been a little bit more difficult. Ed Abrams, buy him, subject to and do sandwich lease options, right? So you're comfortable. I just want to hear, you're comfortable as a realtor doing sandwich lease options or acquiring on a lease option.
Yeah. For myself.
For yourself, not representing other people.
Now, if I'm working with someone else, and this is the exact conversation I had yesterday, was what you're talking about rent to own is a lease with an option. There are 3 components to this deal. It's what is the lease? What is the monthly payment? Are you going to be able to sustain that same monthly payment? What is the option? What is the fee on the option? And what is the option price? Now, that is something that I think is very valuable for somebody who wants to get in the real estate game, but they don't have capital and they don't have the ability to do traditional financing. And I think that's the problem.
PropStream is the most comprehensive and AI-enhanced real estate data provider nationwide. We equip real estate professionals with powerful tools and marketing solutions, helping them make informed decisions and find top leads faster. Visit realwealthformula.com/sponsors for a special link to get a free trial and a ton of goodies only for you, Real Wealth Formula moguls.
Have you ever heard the term commission breath? Commission breath is when you smell the neediness on somebody.
There you go.
And so they're like, oh, you got to buy this, or this is a really good deal. And I ask the question, how do you know? What have you done? And I'm very big as real estate is always worth exactly what you negotiated to be. Yeah. That's the value of the property, right? You can look at Zillow all day long, but when it comes down to it, it's what is me, Brian, willing to sell the property for, and what are you, Brad, willing to buy the property for? When you get into the nitty gritty, that's really what it comes down to. Typical realtors, and I don't know if you remember this story, my first house I ever bought, you and I know nothing about real estate. The realtor was a friend of one of my coworkers, and I said, I love this property, offer $30K under. And he goes, I have a reputation to uphold, I won't do that. I'm like, well, find another monkey to write a contract. He ended up doing it. We were $30K less. They ended up settling. It was a divorce situation. I knew that because his stuff wasn't in the closet. Common sense. We ended up getting it for $20K under. This is a house I still live in to this day.
That's your house? Oh, no kidding. I had no idea.
And so you look at that aspect of it of we want to figure out pain points. We want to negotiate. We want to act in our own best interest. And you see some realtors that are like, well, I just want the easiest transaction because if I paid full price, I wouldn't pay him any more or less, but it meant a lot to me. And also, like, I'm very big is like, you want to put a deal together. You want to make sure both parties are like vested into the deal. It's in both of their best interests. And so when it comes to that aspect of it, I don't trust just because they say they are acting as fiduciary. I don't trust that. And like, you have to be knowledgeable about comps, values. You have to know what your outs are, right? Your inspection out, your appraisal out, your financing out. You have to be somewhat educated, even buying your primary house, because no one is actually acting in your best. Even as a realtor, I'm acting as your fiduciary and I'm doing things based on what I think is best for you. But at the end of the day, I'm actually making money helping you buy and sell. And I look at it, I always talk about I'm your Sherpa leading you up the mountain. And I'm very blessed that the experience that I've been able to get as a real estate investor has helped me become a better realtor to clients, both on the buy and the sell side.
That's the question that I've got for you. You've been doing a lot of deals. You know, we've done deals for a lot of years. If you needed to go get a deal, are you scouring the MLS for your deals, or are you still acquiring from wholesalers?
Have you ever found a good deal on an MLS?
Rarely. I mean, I've done over 500 deals. I would say probably less than 10.
You tell me, why do you think the best deals are off market?
They have distress, therefore they sell at a discount. Distressed houses are not able to get financed by Wells Fargo or Bank of America. Realtors don't want to put distressed houses on the MLS because it's going to be a hard sale because you only have cash buyers to buy from. So you have a limited pool. The MLS, realtors don't put on the MLS and get everyone with a VA, FHA conventional loan. That's who they're selling their houses to.
So the best deals from an acquisition standpoint, you're going to find off market.
Yeah.
And that's never changed, and I don't know if it ever will.
Right.
So I want to incorporate that into my business when I'm working with individuals. And we talked about like assumption loans. That's a huge thing right now.
Are you able to actually assume the loans now?
You can assume an FHA loan because it's backed by our government.
Mm-hmm.
You can assume
you gotta go through underwriting, right?
A VA loan, but with something like that. So here's a great example. Let's say my house is still on it's not, but let's say it's still on an FHA loan. Well, I got $500,000 worth of equity in the property. You're going to have to come up with $500K to assume my loan. But there's also, and we've done this, you've seen this with the owner carry, the subject twos, buying into debt, buying good paper. If I bought a property that was $500,000, I don't want to make you do math again, but if we did math and if I'm assuming it at a 7% interest rate or a 3.5% interest rate, my payment is almost close to double. And so you have to think creatively. Doing assumable loans is something that's very valuable. And you deal with people who say, yeah, I got $100K. And if they don't have $100K, hey, get your Rolodex out. Who do you know? Who's your rich uncle? Who's your Bitcoin cousin, right? So creative real estate is something that will never go away. It's extremely valuable. But also, if you were going to sell a property, how would you sell it?
Oh, vacant on the MLS. As long as it's something that Wells Fargo would lend against, it's going on the MLS. I want as many people as possible on there. Vacant, so that I can run as many people through there as possible. Because typically the houses I'm selling are tenant occupied or want to sell are tenant occupied. And getting tenants to show houses is a nightmare.
Don't do that.
It's an absolute nightmare. Like it doesn't do you any good because people live in squalor and buyers just can't get past that. Right? Get it, clean it out, throw it on the MLS because I get the biggest pool.
And that's exactly right. And I would do the exact same thing. So there's certain situations where hiring an agent like myself is very valuable. There's other situations. I actually, it's like sign shopping. I had somebody come buy a property. Oh my gosh, this is the same old couple that we talked about before that we found the perfect house for them. When they were selling their house, we actually had somebody who called and said, hey, I'm not represented. I saw your sign or saw your property on Zillow. I want to go take a look. Would you let me in the house? Okay, great. That's when you can do a transactional broker.
Sometimes they like it and sometimes they hate it. Seems like to me. It makes no sense that they would hate becoming a transactional broker because you'll get paid more, right? You're in the realtor world. Do they not like being transactional brokers?
If somebody comes as a buyer, we treat them as what we call a customer, meaning I can handle paperwork for you. I can show you how to do the inspection, objections, do this, do that, but I'm not representing you as a fiduciary, where as a customer, I'm not really representing you at all, but you're using me in my administrative because we have called transaction coordinators, which they're helping us out with all the paperwork, this and that, make sure everything is above board. We're utilizing the title company that I know and trust. A transactional broker is more of like a referee. So you're not advising one side or the other. I am advising because I already have a relationship with my client that's selling the property. So I already have a bias. Like if you're the buyer, no, I already have a bias. So what we do is we treat the buyer as a customer. Sometimes I get paid more, sometimes I don't. But what people don't understand or realtors don't understand, we're in the business of doing what?
Doing deals.
Putting deals together, no matter what you're doing. As a realtor, as an investor.
Buy it, sell it, transact it.
What does side A want? What does side B want? And meeting in the middle. And you can tell there's sometimes so much conflict over things that are so minimal, right? It's like, well, if you want egress windows, just go buy them yourself.
Yeah, go get them installed.
Go get them installed. Like,
Question for you. I don't have a ton of information on this side. The recent, I think it was last year, but the recent commission situation, the
yes,
NAR
I'm
settlement.
so glad you're bringing this up.
Tell me more about the NAR settlement. What is this NAR settlement?
It's a wonderful way to get bad agents out of the industry.
Interesting.
This is exactly, I'm not going to like say Keller Williams per se, but like the big brokerages were doing this concept called price fixing. We know all about that being investors. They're basically saying, no, it costs 2.8% to sell on this side. And if you're a buyer's agent, the seller has a responsibility to pay you. And we talk about that 6%. We are also talking about that getting deals together and in the MLS. If I find an off-market deal, my first discount is what?
6%.
Yeah.
Yeah, right off the top.
And so I think it was like an entitlement aspect of it. I don't even remember because, you know, you and I grow up in the internet era. When our parents bought property, they'd have to get a booklet. And you'd have to see, and you'd set it up, and there weren't great pictures, and there weren't great things. So the way the consumers buys real estate has changed significantly over the last 25 years, where the value of a realtor is much different than it was back then. You almost had to have a realtor, you almost had to have, or an attorney to put the paperwork together, do stuff.
Back in the day.
Imagine me having to drive to your damn house at 7 o'clock at night and be like, we got to sign this paperwork. Well, what does it mean? I don't know what it means. You know what it means? It's changed significantly. And the NAR settlement basically said is no, the seller has no financial responsibility to pay a buyer's agent. But the same thing, when you sold your house, what did I advise you to do?
You told me to pay them. You told me I could negotiate if I wanted to. And I tried to negotiate. But then again, my house was a large $1.8 million house that we sold. And this woman worked her butt off. I was already getting, because I didn't go with the listing agent. I already went with a flat fee listing. So I was already getting a discount on the front side. To get a little bit greedy, I could have dropped her down to 2%. In fact, she agreed to 2%. And then I said, she started talking about all of the things that she's doing to help this buyer be able to buy. I said, you don't beat me up on the inspection items. You don't do this kind of stuff. I'll get you 2.8%. What just happened? She now became my agent.
We're going to take this out of the podcast, everybody, all my realtor friends out there.
But she got a full commission. Everybody knew what was going on, and everybody was above board. No big deal.
And that is an example. You are selling a very high-end property. Mm-hmm. I always talk about the real estate pyramid. The higher up you are, the less qualified buyers you have. She brought a qualified buyer to your house in what I would consider very much a buyer's market, right?
Like, oh, yeah, it is right now. So I got in and out, man. I was under contract in a day and closed within 4 weeks. That was the deal. She had to close within a month.
So if you're in a seller's market, like, you know, in the pandemic when everything was nuts, there wasn't any inventory and everybody needed that at-home office, I'm going to offer less to a buyer's agent. If you're in a buyer's market, I'm going to offer more. That's what happened is they were price fixing and saying, no, everything has to be this, and this is a responsibility in this, and it is the absolute opposite. Any type of real estate transaction, everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to understand.
That's what ultimately was the fallout of this. That whereas before it was industry standard / assumed, it was never written in stone. It was always negotiable. Because you and I have sold houses where realtors did not get their full commission. Whether on the list side or on the buy side, it's just all negotiable. Right? Like someone that comes with too high of an offer, we can do that so long as you drop your commission.
And that's something too, is when I start with a buyer or a seller, well, what are you expecting me to do for you? How much experience you have buying and selling real estate? And what would you like to pay me? And like, this is literally, we had that exact same conversation when you went to sell your house. I don't want to pay you much of anything. And I go, well, actually, I don't really want to work.
Yeah.
So maybe you go for this option instead. It didn't mean I wasn't able to help you do different things to get you in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And it's also your house, amazing house it was, but it wasn't in my territory. I work a lot in my backyard. I have to travel more than like 25 minutes to go to see a house. I don't really want to deal with that client.
And I'm a different seller. Yeah. Like I've sold hundreds of houses.
Yeah.
So like I've done more real estate deals and seen more real estate contracts than most realtors have in their entire life. Yeah. Right. So I'm a different cat. I'm not selling and giving a selling agent full commission. However, in the commercial world, is completely different. When I sold my hotel, $5.2 million. I gave her a full commission because on the commercial side, I don't know how much experience you have on the commercial side. It's a completely different ballgame. She is basically a business broker, forensic accountant, and a realtor all wrapped up in one. So she got a full commission because the amount of buyers who came in, can we get your financials? Yeah, here's this NDA. Here, let me explain these financials to you. How did you get to this EBITDA? All this kind of stuff. They earn it, but they do one deal a year. I want you to think about it. 2.8% of $5.2 million, pretty good day. But she'll do 1 or 2 deals a whole year. That's it.
And that's something we love everything real estate. When we were selling the laundromat, our realtor, and I had a license, my partner had a license, 4 guys in the transaction and 2 of them had license. We still hired a commercial broker that knew the space, would get us top dollar, and he earned every single penny.
Every
when
penny.
they came back at 3.5 and he said no $4 million, he made us $500,000 in one conversation.
Yeah.
He earned his money, and he's actually an expert in that. Recognize that too, is staying in your lane is a really important thing. I think I'm a very good residential realtor, and I love it. When a client gets into their home and now all of a sudden a house becomes their home, those memories, everything else, and I've represented them in the best way possible and got them where they needed to be. There's no better feeling in that, but it's also just because you're a good investor doesn't make you a good realtor. And so it's a whole different animal and it's a whole different skill set. And I think sometimes we spread ourselves too thin and we try to do too much. My buy and hold on autopilot. I'm doing, like I said, 2 or 3 deals a year on that aspect of it. And sometimes it's a tenant moves out, I'm selling it, exchanging it into something else. I don't always, and I don't even like using my license. Like I was saying that before, I might have somebody else sell the property for me. And so that is like a really important thing, is like whatever you're doing, learn how to do that business, do it to the best of your ability. I was a realtor at a brokerage that was not a very good brokerage, and I wasn't learning much. The brokerage I'm at right now, Berkshire Hathaway and our team, the Acre Group, phenomenal group of realtors. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, and the business comes to us because of our reputation and because of our knowledge. And so that is an example of that. Is when you talk about that separate hustle, I always think when you're starting as an entrepreneur, you need something on the wealth side and something on the income side, and get very focused. And I always say, master one skill set until you get to the other.
If you're an active real estate investor and you're not using FreedomSoft, I got bad news for you. You're getting beat by other active investors who've been utilizing this CRM software for well over a decade. We're able to close deals faster, more consistently, and with higher margins. So if you're tired of getting beat, go to realwealthformula.com/sponsors and click on the FreedomSoft link. Start doing more deals today.
People preach like multiple streams of income. Well, Elon Musk does that, but he's the smartest guy in the country, and he still had to be an expert at different phases and different stuff. And so before you do that, like, be really good, and you can make a lot of money as a realtor. You can make a lot of money as an investor, but learn that process and then do
It's
what
so funny you talk
you
multiple.
enjoy.
It's so funny you talk multiple streams of income, because the person listening to this podcast likely has one stream of income, their job, their W-2. Yeah. All of the most wealthy people we know in America have multiple streams of income. You just mentioned Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, but of course, even Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey has his radio show, and then Financial Peace University, and then Entree Leadership. All the sharks on Shark Tanks, the very definition is that they have multiple streams of income. And, people think that I bash on realtors. I don't bash on realtors, not all of them. I bash on the bad ones. The ones who who can't think past their own liability, because when you go to realtor school, basically they're teaching you all the ways that you can get sued, right? Yep. And so they're so afraid of that, they can't think through how to put a deal together. Those are the realtors that really tick me off, when there's a deal right there for everybody. But for the ones who are looking at it like, hey, this is a side hustle, I recognize that it's going to limit me on some real estate investing strategies. Sub 2, installment land contract for deeds. I'm going to have to possibly have someone else list my house, like you're saying, list my house, because I don't want to be involved in that transaction from a liability perspective. There are some benefits to getting your license, but just like you've said, you don't need your license in order to do investing. You're representing yourself, you're buying for yourself. Yeah. And so what advice would you give since you're on the dark side as a realtor, what advice would you give for your realtor friends, the people who have their license, on how to work with us investors?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly, I love the way you said that, because being on the dark side, we came up having a very low impression of realtors. And realtors, guess what? They felt the same way. No, these guys are just taking my commissions away.
They're bottom feeders, that kind of stuff.
And we are. As investors, we are bottom feeders. But learning to work together and create win-win situations. And I think I've said this multiple times, when the only tool you have is a hammer, your only solution is a nail. That's not how real estate works. And especially now, it has never been harder to buy property in the Mile High City. And the price points are very high. The interest rates are very high. Even now that we're getting more inventory, it's still historically low inventory. We had no idea when we started. People were handing us houses. Fix it up, rehab it. I know you talked about Ed Abrams. Phenomenal guy. He was more into solving problems, leaving enough skin on the bone for the next guy.
Meat on the bone, yeah.
He was very good to us, but we are also very good to him. Mm-hmm. That is exactly realtors, especially good ones. They know how to work with investors, add value. John Dilday taught us this. It's when you're about to list a property, I'm looking at it every single week, meaning every Thursday, I'm going to go, okay, what's changed in the market? This property went under contract. Oh my gosh, it was 10K over what we were expecting it to be. Oh, it had this type of countertop, or the kitchen had this type of upgrades. Realtors are very good at helping you with those things. So if you're looking at doing a fix and flip, get a realtor that's honest and tells you the truth. And like, I had a client the other day, I go, you're 100K underwater on this house. And he goes, how could that be? I just bought it 2 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. I like to do these things called 1004 MCs. That give you a snapshot of what's going on in your market. How many days on market are they? What are they selling above or below list price? So getting a knowledgeable realtor who knows how to comp properties and knows how to understand what's happening in micro markets is extremely valuable and extremely
But you're
important.
one of the different realtors. You like to sleep well at night, so you just tell it like it is.
Yeah.
Whether people like to hear it or not. Hey, you're 100K underwater on this house. Hey, you're going to need to do this, because they're talking about, you're giving them the truth.
Yeah.
Too many realtors care more about getting the listing than telling somebody the truth. No, this house is only worth $500,000. You want to list it for 700? Sure, I guess we can try to list it for 700, but you're not going to get that. That conversation doesn't seem to me like it's happening all the time.
Those people get burnt out, and both the realtors and the investors or the primary homeowners all lose. That is exactly what's changing in our industry, is if you don't tell the truth, especially because I always say, like, high tide, all ships rise. We know that expression. We also see a lot of that stuff of these transactional brokers. Like, I've had clients that have done 4 or 5 transactions with me. My business is pretty easy. They know me. They trust me. We're going to do a good deal together. The agents get burnt out, but also the clients get burnt out too. And the best thing in any type of business, the best thing you can tell someone is the truth. And then talk about the alternative and say, hey, maybe we do a lease option. Let's try to figure out a lease option. You own this house outright, and 10 years from now, I'll still be in the business. I'll be a little older, a little bit more gray, but I'd love to list it for you. When you act in a world of abundance and you pay it forward, it's amazing what comes back to you. And there's a huge thing about being, like we talked about before, being in the business. I worked this one open house, which people are like, don't do open houses. No, I want all these people that I'm representing to come in and see old Bry and talk real estate.
Yeah.
I ended up getting somebody who did a buy and a sell, another person who did a sell, and then I had to transition her into a nursing home. But from one transaction, I got 3 more transactions because I'm active in the market. People go, I know he's an expert. I know he knows what he's doing, or at least perceived that way, right? Those are the things I would talk about to realtors. Is one, be active. Like, my real estate brokerage is so awesome. Like, I have people lining up on my listings to do open houses because we know, like, we get business from there. That helps us. We're representing and actually working for our client. There's other realtors, like, they just sit around and go, I wonder why no business is coming.
Why the phone's not ringing?
Yeah.
And so I guess the real answer to my conundrum of being able to get deals with realtors is we're really fishing in the different ponds. Yeah. I mean, I'm fishing in the distressed pond, and realtors are fishing in the retail fixed up pretty house pond. And sometimes there's overlap, not often. And at the end of the day, I need to, probably recognize that a little bit. Be nicer to my realtor friends.
No, and that's something too, is I always say, shake a stick, you'll find a realtor.
You can't throw a dead cat without hitting a realtor.
No,
that's what I
and
always
that's
say.
exactly, and even when we started, people like, oh, you guys started in the crash. Even back then, it was really hard. Real estate is very hard, but the alternative is not owning real assets and not having real wealth.
Well, you know what's funny? You just said that. When we bought our first deal, it was December. I think you said January before, but December of 2010.
Yeah, and when we refied, it was January. Yeah,
January we refied. They told us that it was hard. A couple years later, when we have a small portfolio, it's hard. A couple years later, hey guys, it's not a great time to be buying. It's hard. In the 15 years of me buying houses and in the 17 years of me learning this business, there has never been one time in 17 years where people said, yep, it's easy. Now's the time to buy.
Sell.
Never have they ever said that. And so you're not the only person. I was talking to Ken off camera. You're not the only person who has said a very similar thing that these other guests have said, which is you just got to get into it. You got to get in. You got to take action. You can't just sit on the sideline. No one is going to tell you now is 100% the time to buy. We're not going to go any lower. Why? Because they can't tell the future. They're not going to say it's definitely going to go up 20%. Nobody's going to say that. What they are going to say is, hey, you buy this asset, it should rent for this. You'll cash flow this amount of money and go do it over and over and over again until your passive income is larger than monthly expenses. Now you're wealthy.
And we talk about like the 3Ds all the time. And here's an example. Like I had a client.
What are the 3Ds?
Death, destruction, and distress.
Distress and divorce.
Divorce. Divorce. We'll make them a 4Ds. And divorce is always big. But no, here's an example. Like I was working with these older couple. The husband just had a stroke. They need a ranch or a first floor primary bedroom. And they need easy access and this and that. What if I said to him, Brad, hey guys, it's not really the best time to buy and sell real estate right now. Why don't you wait 2 years?
Yeah.
No, I have a husband I need to take care of, and we need these simplicities. Life is more valuable than real estate, and our needs change. And now both of us are kind of anti-government.
Yeah.
I think they're the worst part of this equation, worst part of the problem. And it's left and right. Like these guys do fiat money like it's going out of style. And dude, the real reason I was probably a little bit late is I saw McDonald's on my way. And you know me, bro. Brad, I had to get my quarter pounder with cheese. I know RFK wouldn't like this, but dude, my car has this problem. It just stares into McDonald's. Dude, McDonald's breakfast, McDonald's lunch, McDonald's dinner. I know it's terrible for me, but that's like my Achilles heel. I get the same value meal every single time. It's probably tripled. When I got a quarter pounder with cheese the day I got my license, and I got one on my way here
today. Yeah,
that first one was $3.50. This one was $12.
Yeah.
And so it's exactly that. Like things aren't going to be perfect, but this is a hedge against stupid fiat spending and our government pretty much making everything double in value. And I always talk about this is real estate hasn't gone up in value. The dollar has gone down in value. And the same thing, like these, we've talked ad nauseum, these 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch houses. A lot of them are in worse condition they were when we bought them, but they've gone up in value because the dollar
That's exactly right.
has gone down. And that's exactly like when it comes down to it, real estate meets our real needs, not our fake needs. And what is an income producing property that helps you pay the bills, whether it's your primary residence that changes as your household changes. Real estate is an instrumental thing. And like we said, hard to get on the train. But once you're on the train, it's very easy to change cars. And so like if my wife and I were getting divorced, and I needed to go, I could go move into one of my rental properties. I could go sell one of my rental properties, buy something else. My primary home, I very much think one of my children might live in that property and raise their kids in that property. So real estate is so valuable beyond any type of monetary aspect of it. And once you're into real estate, it's very easy to stay in real estate. It's very easy to do deals. I say like, dude, real estate's been very, very good to me. Yeah. I know it's been very, very good to you. And we fell ass backwards into it. We were looking for hustles. We were looking for stuff. Real estate is the cornerstone of everything we do. I do some additional side hustles, but you can't do other things successfully until you learn how to do one thing successfully. Be an expert. Be specialized. Yeah, all the people, Dave Ramsey, Elon Musk, they can do it because they have endless capital to put into different things. They're extending passive income upon passive income. They wouldn't be able to do that if they weren't good at one skill set. And you and I think our one saving grace is we're good with people, we're good at sales, and we're good at negotiating. I think that's a pillar for any type of business. The other things, the accounting, the financials, the different strategies, because markets shift, markets change, strategies shift, and strategies change. But running a cash flowing successful business, if you're selling widgets, it's the same as selling real estate. I have another business that I have virtual assistants who run. We follow the same KPIs. We follow the same Sandler sales system that you and I just preach to.
President's Club.
And it's one of those things, like those tried and true methods, tried and true systems. If you're sloppy in your real estate business, you're going to be sloppy in your other business. And so it's like, if you're not successful in one thing, you're not going to be successful in another. And getting good at one aspect, gaining trust, gaining responsibility. And that's something that I always really appreciated with you. You always shoot straight with people. You're always honest with them. And another thing is, you always have their best interests in hand. Even when you're doing distressed properties, off-market deals, honestly trying to get them where they need to be. People are like, oh, these greedy investors. No. You're trying to actually get them as much money as you can afford to do so, but also still make money on your end.
That makes it so that I can keep getting deals. So, man, that's some great advice. Great advice there at the end here. People to listen to, just the principles of business that then get applied to real estate, that they can get applied to ultimately your life. Shooting straight with people, being honest, working hard, doing what you say you're going to do, all those kind of things. Brian, thanks for showing up on this episode. I appreciate it. You're a good friend. We've known each other since 2006.
I met you actually
2006.
at a 4th of July. I want to say it was either 2005.
2005, 20 years.
People don't know this, but Brad was kind of like one of my first friends out here in Colorado. And like, it was crazy. It's like, dude, I love Jesus. You love Jesus. You seem like a pretty cool guy. I know I'm a pretty cool guy. We've been friends ever since. And that local aspect of it, I do want to kind of end with this, is invest local. Invest in your community,
Bingo.
Invest in your people. And that's like one of those things that real estate gives you the ability to do. And we need that more often. Like, I want to train men to be self-sufficient. I want to train men to be healthy. I want to train men to be financially and viable. And those are things that we can accomplish, and it gets done at a local level. And I'm telling you, because people know Brad from the real estate side. He's a phenomenal person as a pastor, phenomenal person as a mentor. He's done phenomenal things for me, my family, and same deal, dude. We just don't have many friends, dude. We keep putting up with each other year after year because nobody else wants to hang out with us. But no, dude, I appreciate you and appreciate the stuff you're doing. And anybody who's looking to get into this stuff, Brad is a phenomenal mentor, wonderful guy to do it. And like I said, I would love to be 28-year-old Brian again and partnering and doing deals with you. And I know there's people out there that are listening to this podcast. If that's where you want to be, it's not something that happens overnight, but it's amazing how quickly you grow up real quick and you become very successful by working with the right type of people.
Very cool. Man, you're too kind. You're a good man. The Lord is using you in a great way. You got a good family. You got a good business, good integrity, good character. I'm glad that the Lord has brought our paths together. And so with that, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I'm just saying, who knows, 28-year-old Brian might be the next person on this podcast. Yeah. And so everybody who's out there, just keep grinding, just keep working towards these things. But also when you're over your head or you're going, hey, I need this, I need that. There's a lot of ways to make money and a lot of great things we can do, but it all starts with a servant heart.
Perfect. That's a good final word. Guys, we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to The Real Wealth Formula, hosted by Brad Hovis. If this episode helped you see money and purpose a little differently, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Share with someone who's ready to build real wealth, and keep building the life, purpose, and freedom you were made for. Until next time, keep your goals clear and your wealth real.